The Yu-Gi-Oh! Chronicles deck, the Fallen and the Virtuous, became arguably one of the most successful structure decks that Konami had ever released in its history. So much so that they decided to bring in another Chronicles deck. This time, Spirit Charmers. And Konami has just unveiled its first batch of new cards and reprints for the upcoming structure deck. Honestly, these new batch of cards might just make the deck broken than it's ever been before. And it's weird because the last time we had a structure deck for the Charmers, the deck really didn't do so well. It was only successful because of the hand traps that were in that set. Excuse me. In fact, if I remember correctly, this set was released literally during the pandemic, and it didn't really do so well. I mean, yeah, sure, we did get new card, a bunch of new cards and a bunch of alternate art cards and shit. But it was mostly all reprints, cards like Fairy Tale Sleeper, Ranryu, and cards like Inari Fire, Witchel by Forest. But this structure set was only good because of the better reprints that was in the set. cards like Effect Veiler, Raigeki, Secret Village of the Spellcasters, obviously perfect for the dark magician decks and pretty much like any spellcaster based deck that was around during that time, which wasn't a whole lot. There wasn't a whole lot going on during the pandemic because, well, COVID, but still, Terraforming, Twin Twister, Dark Ruler No More, the spiritual art cards, Metaverse, Dimensional Barrier, Solemn Warning. These were the only good reprints in this structure deck, but there really wasn't anything else going on. There was no copies of Ash Blossom, no copies of Ghost Bell. There was nothing whatsoever. And this became arguably one of the worst structure decks that Konami ever released, ever. Well now with the brand new Chronicles deck coming out called Spirit Charmers, we are going to be getting some brand new shit, and it seems like we're going to be getting reprints of pretty much the entire Charmer archetype, which includes the Charmers, the familiar possess cards. We're going to be getting a lot of good shit in this structure deck, so I'm not going to waste any time. There are only 2 new cards in today's video, but that is perfectly okay. And the name of the first card is known as Charmers of the Grand Circle. Which, honestly, if I'm being completely honest, I'm looking at the artwork, and it kind of looks like something out of the anime Grimgar, Ashes and Illusions, in a really weird way. It kind of looks like that. Which, honestly, the artwork is super cute because Charmers are waifu materials, of course, but you guys get the idea. Super cute. Although to be fair, I don't know why, but some people believe that Asa can be passed off as a male. I don't know about you guys. I don't know about you guys. Here's Asa. I don't know about you guys. Maybe it is a male, maybe it is a female. You guys can drop comments below. Again, that's just, I don't know. I don't know. I honestly don't know. Again, it could be a male, but obviously we all know all the charmers are definitely female. But Grand Circle is a 6-star light spellcaster fusion with 1850 attack and 1500 defense. Pretty much the same attack and defense stats as pretty much all the other charmers in the game. Excuse me, and it requires 2 or more charmer and or familiar possessed monsters. And the effect is a once per turn that reads as followed. If this card is fusion summoned, you can choose among these effects a number of times up to the number of original attributes among its material, max 4, and apply them in sequence. You can choose the same effect multiple times. This card gains 800 attack. Add 1 possessed spell trap from the deck to the hand. Return 1 card on the field to the hand. Special summon a spellcaster from the grave. Okay, so this is actually kind of cool because excuse me. This is actually kind of cool because you can change this card's this card's attack from 1850 to well over like to close to like I want to say what, close to 4200 if I remember right. 32 42, literally 5050. You can make this card's attack 5050 attack, which is kind of insane. But obviously in today's format, that's not gonna make much of a difference because you're most likely just gonna end up you're most likely just gonna end up bouncing cards from the field back to the hand. So against decks like Draco Tail, Yummy Mitsurugi, and Raziel, you're gonna be bouncing cards like the Antilleon, Detonator, and potentially cards like the Yummy Field spell, the Link 1, and potentially Herald of the Arclight, because Arclight in Yummy is a nasty card to use. Super nasty. And especially too because the deck uses up the Mitsurugi archetype. It makes Arclight 10 times more deadly than ever before. And I think it's pretty safe to say that in this current format, those 3 decks need to get hit big time. And it's weird because they were all a part of the what was it, Crossover Breakers? I think it was. It was either Crossover Breakers or the next deck build set after that. I think it was I think it was hold on. I want to say, hold on. Let's see. Yummy archetype. Here we are. I want to say that this was that they were all part of the same set, if I remember correctly. It's been a minute, but I think that was the case. I'm not so sure. But again, those are some of the key cards that you're gonna want to bounce off of this card's effect, which is insane. And yeah, sure, you could theoretically special summon a spellcaster from your grave, but it's like if your opponent has called by on board, or if they have or if they have a ghost bell, it really doesn't make much of a difference, because it's like once your opponent uses up both cards, at least one or both cards, to try and stop this card's reborn effect, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. The effect says that they can use the same effect multiple times, meaning that you're able to use this card's effect 4 times in a single turn. And I believe it has to be on summon. So you would literally need to go compulse. You would literally have to use up this card's effect, attack into guy, attack into guy, then go defusion, take this card, put it back into the extra deck, resummon the monsters that you use for this card summon, pop, and then go flash fusion, resummon the guy, use its effect again, bounce more cards, attack for game. Literally literally defusion has to be used in this deck for this card to be used at full power. Like, that's kind of cracked. And again, to be fair, there are other effects off this card that you can choose to use, but they'll just end up getting hit with Ash Blossom, because of the fact that you can add a possessed spell track from deck to hand. Ash Blossom. Once they use up the Ash Blossom, now you've got free range to add from deck to hand. If you choose to summon from grave, they go Ghost Bell. You can use the summon effect again, which is kind of crazy. The other new card is known as Spellbook of the Grand Circle, which I believe this is the polymerization for the deck. Yes, this is. Both of its effects are once per turn, and the first effect reads: add 4 Charmer monsters with different attributes from your deck, grave, or banishment to your hand. Then return 2 cards from your hand to your deck. Second effect reads: you can banish this card from your grave, fusion summon a fusion monster using Charmer or familiar possessed monsters from your hand or field. Your opponent cannot activate cards or effects when that monster is fusion summoned. So theoretically, it only works on, I believe it only works on monsters on board. Excuse me. But then again, it's like once you use up the fusion effect, your opponent can chain Super Poly and literally wipe your whole board clean, and now they have a big guy on board. But it's like, yeah, sure, go ahead, use up my board, I don't care. Bam, I got 4 Charmers in hand, send to grave, boom, big guy. you literally, it's like on their end, they're the ones that fucked up because now they can't use their fusion summoned monsters effect. They can't use it because of how this card's worded, which says your opponent cannot activate cards or effects when that monster is fusion summoned. So because that Grand Circle was fusion summoned off of this card's effect, off of the effect of Spellbook, now they can't do shit until their next turn, to which it will miss timing, and that's not a good thing. That is not a good thing. So the reprints that are going to be in this set will be as follows: Area the Water Charmer, Heat of the Fire Charmer, Wind the Wind Charmer, also the Earth Charmer, Familiar Possessed Area, Familiar Possessed Hita, Familiar Possessed Wind, Familiar Possessed Asa, Area the Water Channeler, Heat of the Fire Channeler, Wind the Wind Channeler, also the Earth Channeler, Gigabyte, Inari Fire, Renryu, Nefarious Archfiend, Eater of Nefariousness, Awakening of the Possessed Gagiobite, Awakening of the Possessed, Awakening of the Possessed Greater Inari Fire, Awakening of the Possessed Rasenryu, Awakening of the Possessed Nefarious Archfiend, Spirit Charmers, Grand Spiritual Art Ichirin, Awakening of the Possessed, Possessed Partnerships, Unpossessed, Area the Water Charmer Gentle, Heat of the Fire Charmer Ablaze, Wind the Wind Charmer Verdant, and also the Earth Charmer Immovable. So there is also Lina and Dark, because it's also part of the archetype, but I don't know if Konami is going to be adding those two into this structure deck. I'm not so sure, but I will say that this deck might just end up becoming a very crazy deck that can make the deck met. Like, we could be looking again. I know I've said this with so many other archetypes and new archetypes over the last 3, 4, 5 months now, but I'm going to say it again with this archetype. We could be looking at a format where this card might end up becoming one of the most broken decks in the format. Literally, these two new cards could potentially make Charmers as a pure build alone one of the most broken decks we had ever seen. It is very possible, but we do not know for sure. I will say though, this might just be, again, one of the best decks we've ever seen, or it could end up becoming like the Spirit Charmers structure deck that we got in October during the pandemic, and it could be a bad set. Only time will tell. But with that being said, that'll do it for today's video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you did, make sure you guys smash that thumbs up button. If you guys are new to the channel and you guys want more card discussions in the future, then be sure to subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification bell, and as always, make sure you guys are following me on all of my social media. All of my ads will be in the description below, as will the info to my fan mail. It will also be in the description as well. And on that, this is your boy Nash, signing out.